Championship. It's a city rich in culture and history, marked by its endless canals and bridges. With a population of 40,000, this city in the Friesland province is an important commercial center to the Netherlands. The pristine beauty and tranquility of the Dutch countryside seem to ignore the boundaries of time and are in stark contrast to the raucous and frenzied excitement of the crowd awaiting the world's fastest speed skaters inside the TL Sports and Recreation Center. Speed skating is a passion of the Dutch, gripping an entire nation. This 400-meter oval is once again the site as we welcome you to ABC's Wide World of Sports coverage of the 1996 World Sprint Speedskating Championships. Hello everyone, I'm Mark Jones and welcome to Heerenveen. This will be a very revealing competition. We'll not only crown men's and women's champs in the 500 meters, 1,000 meters, and an overall champion, but this is the beginning of a new era. You see, for the first time at these championships in recent memory, Bonnie Blair will not be a force to be reckoned with. She's retired now, but it was right here in 1989 when Blair electrified this Dutch crowd en route to winning her first of 3 World Sprint titles. And that was then. This is now. My partner for the broadcast is the 5-time Olympic gold medalist, Bonnie Blair. Bonnie, thanks for joining the family. How do you see this competition?
First off, thanks, Mark. It's nice to be here with you. And we are going to have an exciting competition this weekend. As you can hear, the crowd is very unique here in Holland. They're going to give a lot of positive energy back to the skaters, but it's going to be a wide open competition. America's best hope is going to be coming from Chris Witty. She's won every 1,000 meters that she's skated in this year. She's going to be the one to beat in that race. But to have a good overall finish, she's going to need to skate a good, strong 500 meters. She's going to need to get off to a fast start and for sure be in the top 10 in those races.
4 races will determine our world champion. Points are given for each sprint based on time. 1,000 meter times are divided by 2 to carry equal weight. The skater with the lowest combined point total is our world champion. We begin our competition with the women's 500 meters. That's 1¼ laps around this oval. Christine Witty of West Dallas, Wisconsin is on the right. She's going to try and set the tone right here and now. She's paired up against Kyoko Shimizaki of Japan. The start so vitally important for Witty.
Yeah, she really needs to get off to a good start here, but Kyoko's the one that's going to really help her. She has a good opening time, and it'll get Chris down that 100 very fast.
Bonnie, the time to beat posted earlier by Rizhong Zhu of China, 40.36.
Chris looks like she's off to a good start here. She is relatively close to Kyoko Shimizaki, so this should be a good time for her.
Shimizaki 0.3 of a second ahead of Witty after the first 100 meters as they come down the back stretch.
And that's probably normal. Shimizaki, she is going to be normally ahead of Chris, but now Chris has to just sit back, really push, get good extension, and really have a good, strong last outer here.
With about 100 meters to go, Witty's trailing. She's going to have to pick up the pace, but she is a strong closer, and you can see her bearing down. Witty passing Shimizaki in a time of 40.44. That's good enough for second place so far. You would think she's pleased with that time, and she still has her best event, the 1,000, to come. That is Svetlana Zurova, aka the Russian Rocket, 24 years old, from Russia. On the right, it's Franziska Schenk of Germany, but Zurova has been dominating, Bonnie, this year.
Yeah, she's won every 500 meters she's skated, 8 World Cup wins, very fast 100 meters. This is going to be one of the pairs to watch of the day.
The time to beat 40.36, but Bonnie, she could be aiming at your world record of 38.69.
And Svetlana, we're going to see her probably opening up probably close to 10.4.
Close enough, 10.5 for Zurova as they change lanes on the back stretch. Zurova, a former sprinter in track and field, so she's got that explosiveness.
And I think, you know, for her, too, she's going to like to have someone in front of her, someone to chase going down that back stretch. Now, hopefully, she'll have a good last inner here.
And she's so powerful in the final 100 meters. And here she comes, the national record holder in Russia at 39.66. She crosses the finish line in 39.85. That moves her into first place and puts her in a good position for the overall title. Bonnie, your take on the last 100 meters.
Svetlana a little wide coming out of that last turn, but I don't think that hampered her any. If anything, probably slingshot her down this last 100 meters. She's sitting nice and deep, striving for that finish line. Good knee drive.
Katrina LeMay of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada has a number of second-place finishes in the women's 500 on the World Cup Tour to her credit this year. She's paired up against Sabine Volker of Germany. LeMay has been able to stay healthy this year. That is a reason for her success, Bonnie.
Yeah, and you know, that's been good for her. The last year wasn't as consistent for her, but this year she's been solid all season long.
Now keep in mind the time to beat Svetlana Zarova's 39.85.
Now the one thing about Sabine is she's been consistent in both races. She's definitely one to look at the overall standings at the end of the competition.
LeMay out in a lightning quick 10.58.
Second fastest opening time of the day. She has been very strong in the opening part. The 500 is her best race out of the 500 and 1,000 meters.
LeMay saying that she was in a very positive state of mind coming into this competition, and more importantly, injury-free, and down goes Volker. Volker's out of it. LeMay will continue uncontested and cross the finish line in 39.88 seconds. That's good enough for second place, but for Volker, an unfortunate fall.
A very disappointing thing for her because she was someone to look out in the overall standings. And it just looks like Sabine, she pushed her leg out. I think she hit her boot, or, you know, maybe the ice broke away. I'm sure that's going to be very difficult, not only for her, but the whole German team as well.
The results of the first women's 500-meter race: Zarova wins it, Witty in 8th, taking a step towards emerging from the large shadow cast by my colleague.
It seemed like they knew me more as the next Bonnie Blair than my name, and I was just, I have a name.
The name is Witty, and it's been tantamount to dominance in the women's 1,000, and it's coming up next. Relax with their friend and former teammate, Christine Witty.
So you got to feel good about coming into the Worlds and, you know,
Right.
the results you've had so far this season. And I mean, that's got to make you feel good, huh?
Yes, it does. Especially after Innsbruck. Being
Yeah.
a week before Worlds, it's good to
To have that
Get
good,
on top.
positive.
right,
Right.
have good races.
Yeah.
There were years before I even made a team where I actually trained with Bonnie, just watching her before '88, even before '92. She's always somebody that can go to the line at the Olympics game and always be there. And I kind of just took that and I learned that
You can explain.
to make a routine of things, Right. because a lot of people get to a big competition and they get too tense and tend to freak out a little bit, and then they don't skate as well. And besides that, she has a lot of fun.
Chris Witty likes to have a lot of fun, too. And keep in mind that Witty, right there, has won every 1,000-meter race on the World Cup circuit this year. Tomomi Okazaki is skating against her on the right. Witty is buoyed by a good showing in the 500 earlier.
Yeah, she's got to have a lot of confidence going into this race, knowing that she's the best out there. Everyone else is going to be chasing her down in this race.
Christina Rothenberger holds the world record in this event at 117.65. Witty's personal best time is 119.39. Now, in between races, had a chance to speak with Witty. She seemed to be really looking forward to this race.
Chris wants to try to get a good start, good opening time. Okazaki a little bit ahead of her, but that's normal. Now Chris is going to have to sit back, really push, get into a good rhythm, and really try to go after Okazaki going down the backstretch here.
Witty, a student at Technical College in Milwaukee, she likes to be known as a technical skater as well.
Chris, a very solid, strong skater. You know, she really gets about everything out of every push. As we see, she's really closed the gap here. One of Chris's strong points, a very strong finish for her.
Witty split time, 48.79. What do you think of the split by?
I think she's really on a good one. You know, the thing is with Chris, she has a very strong last lap. Even though OKSANA RAVILOVA was ahead of her at the 600-meter split, Chris is going to finish very strong.
And here comes Witty powering her way down the straight with 50 meters to go. Is she going to beat the time of 121.6? Yes, she does. She crosses the line in 120.63. So Christine Witty of West Dallas, Wisconsin is in first place in the 1,000 meters and first place overall. Exactly where she wants to be at this point. Edel Therese Høyseth of Norway is one of the women who will contend for the overall title. She's a veteran at 30 years old, skating against Linda Johnson Blair of Canada. Hoyseth, a tall skater at 5'8", and very strong as well. Earlier in the competition, in the 500 meters, she skated her season's best time. So the national sprint champion peaking at just the right moment.
Yeah, Adel, one of the things she really does have going for her is she has so much experience. Being in the 1984 Olympics, she's been around a long time, but this year has probably been her best year so far. She's been very consistent in both the 500 and the 1,000 meters, finishing in the top 6 in almost every competition.
A look of concentration from the 30-year-old, getting better with time. And Johnson Blair is down and now back up. The Canadian, who set a personal best of 122.32 in this event earlier this season, is back up on her skates, and Hoyseth is skating uncontested.
And now with Adel out here all by herself, now she's really going to have to dig deep. Here she's got a really fast opening time at the 600 meters, 48.74. She's on a good race, and if she can hold it together, she could easily crack the top 3.
Hoyseth has competed in these championships 13 times. She has the experience. She has the knowledge. She has the skating savvy, but she has never won and put it all together. This is her opportunity to do just that. The time to beat Witty's 120.63. And here's Hoyseth crossing the line in 121.13. Good enough for second place.
Nice race by Adel. She's got to be really happy with that. Like I said, this has been one of her best seasons so far. You know, dating back to 1984, she's 30 years old. You know, hey, she's still got it.
Hoyseth lowers her personal best in the 1,000 meters by 0.09. Chalk one up for the old folks. And the party continues as we look at the results after the first 1,000-meter race. It's Witty, Hoyseth, and Volker in the overall standings, meanwhile, which will determine our World Sprint champion. It's Witty, Hoyseth, and Zarova, whose best event, the second 500 meters, is still to come. And coming up later, Christine Witty, focused with her eyes on the prize, gunning for her first World Sprint title. Comes the motionless anticipation and concentration, a time to contemplate the propulsion of force and mass. The sound of the gun brings the violent explosion of unbridled raw power. To sustain rapid acceleration and speed is the essence of sprinting. Welcome back, everyone, to Heerenveen, the Netherlands, to ABC's Wide World of Sports coverage of the 1996 World Sprint Speedskating Championships. I'm Mark Jones, along with my new colleague Bonnie Blair, as we get set for the second women's 500-meter race. Here's a look at the overall standings after one race at each distance. It's Witty in the lead, all eyes focused on her as she tries to carve her own niche among U.S. speed skaters with the help of her new coach.
I think she sees herself now more like a new Witty than like a new skater. Not, she doesn't want to replace Bunny. Nobody can replace Bunny. Bunny was Bunny. But I think Chris wants to have her name, her own style.
Well, a win at these World Championships would go a long way to achieving that goal. Witty on the left, TOMOMI OKAZAKI on the right. The second time that these two have been paired up. You'll remember they skated against each other in the first 1,000-meter race. Keep in mind, Witty's time in the first 500-meter race was 40.44.
Yeah, we'd like to see her at least be as close to that as possible. This isn't the strong part of her race. She's going to get better as the race goes on.
Witty's split time, 11.05, identical to her first split time in the first 500.
As she comes around that first turn, she's carrying some good speed there. Now she's got her in sight. She can really reach for her, set up this last turn, and give it all she's got.
Witty coming home now. She skated 40.44 the first time around. Witty just has to do well. She doesn't have to win it, just do well in the 500. She crosses the line in 40.43. That's 1/100th of a second faster than her first 500.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that TOMOMI beat her in that pairing, but that was a good time for Chris.
Speaking of good pairings, Bonnie, Svetlana Zarova of Russia on the right is arguably the best ladies 500-meter skater in the world this year. unbeaten at that distance this season. Meanwhile, Adele Therese Høiseth of Norway on the left has also served notice that she will be a force to be reckoned with for the overall title, which is determined by the combined results of all 4 races.
Svetlana got off to a very fast start in the first race. 10.5 though. I expect to see her in this race to go more in the 10.4s.
At the split, Bonnie, you're exactly right. She's out in 10.48. Man, is she moving.
Now having that first inner track, she's going to be able to really build up her speed. She's going to have last outer. She's not going to have to worry about holding back at all. She's going to give it everything she's got.
The time to beat for Zarova, 40.01, and she goes down. An unfortunate turn of events for Zarova. And here comes Adele Therese Høiseth, crossing the finish line in 40.1, a new Norwegian record and a new personal best.
Which is a very fast time for Adel. I'm sure she's going to be extremely happy with that result.
Høiseth, the new leader now in the overall standings, ahead of Witty. And for Zarova, the unthinkable.
Here's another look. The skaters have been complaining the ice is pretty hard. It's breaking away from them. She's got a lot of good power she's applying to the ice, and it just didn't grip for her.
Well, Zarova's bad fortune has left the door wide open for Katrina LeMay on the right from Canada. A huge opportunity staring her in the face. LeMay skating against OKSANA RAVILOVA from Russia. RAVILOVA on the left, LeMay on the right. The time to beat is 40.01 by Tomomi OKAZAKI from Japan, who you saw skate against Witty.
Katrina being second almost every race throughout the World Cup season. With Zarova out, this is a chance for her to win her first race.
LeMay's split time, 10.61, 3/100 slower than her first 500-meter race. LeMay saying that her marriage has really helped her to focus on her skating, and it's paying off right now.
Yeah, she has. Everything's been going really well for Katrina all season long. Like you mentioned, she's been healthy. Last year, she had some ankle problems. This year, she's been very healthy, though, and skating very solid in every race.
The time to beat, 40.01. LeMay crossing the finish line in 39.96, moving past OKAZAKI into first place to win the second ladies 500-meter race. Her first victory of the season as we take a look at the final results of the second ladies 500-meter race here in Heerenveen. The most significant development, Høiseth with a personal best in this 500 meters, moving into first place ahead of Chris Witty in the overall standings. Meanwhile, the battle for the men's world championship was between Hiroyasu Shimizu of Japan and Sergei Klevshenya of Russia. Shimizu won the first 500-meter race, just 1/100th of a second slower than the track record. Klevchenya was second, but he won the first 1,000-meter race, and he led the overall standings after 2 races coming into this, the second 500-meter race. Shimizu would go on not only to win, but set a new track record as well. And he showed his excitement, too. For Klevchenya, who lost by only 11/100ths of a second, it was a season's best for him, as well as a new Russian record. More importantly, Klevchenya's strong 500 allowed him to keep his overall lead with just the last 1,000-meter race, his strongest race, between him and the World Championship. The rest of the field was no match for Klevchenya, who won the second 1,000-meter race as well, en route to his first World Championship. The sole American entry, Casey Fitzrandolph, finished in 9th place overall. More importantly for the U.S. men's team, each top 20 finish here at the Worlds means one additional entry in next year's World Championships beyond the one mandatory invitation each country gets. This was a major step forward for the talented men's team. Well, it's boiled down to one race for Chris Witty. If she's going to become the new world champion, she'll have to do it by coming from behind. Of Heerenveen and the surrounding Dutch countryside, peaceful, serene, and empty. Why? Well, that's because the eyes of the entire speed skating world are focused squarely on 2 skaters, Chris Witty of the United States and Adele Therese Høiseth of Norway. That's Witty, who is trying to break new ground. She trails Høiseth, the overall leader. Høiseth has been here before.
Yeah, Adel, she's been at the World Championships here 13 times. First time to be able to win a medal was here at this championships. Chris, on the other hand, she's been winning the thousands all season long. She's got to feel confident going into this race.
True champs respond in pressure situations. Witty didn't break 1:20 in her first 1,000-meter race. Can she do it now?
I look at Krista for sure to be able to skate a 1:19 here in the 1,000 meters.
Whitty has to defeat Hoyseth by 0.38 seconds to win the overall title. It's not going to be easy. Hoyseth is skating well.
Adel should probably have close to fast 200 meters. Both 18.8s. Those are pretty good for both those skaters.
Many people came here expecting a coronation ceremony for Christine Witty of West Dallas, Wisconsin. But the veteran Hoyseth is drawing on all those years of experience to try and crash the party. Witty has to win by more than 0.38 seconds to take home her first World Championship.
As they come here into the 600 meters, both skaters are really pretty even. Chris has a little edge there at the 600.
She's leading by 45/100ths of a second, more than enough if she can sustain it.
This is a good time for Chris, the 600 meters, and she is. This is where her best part of the race is going to come in. Chris is very strong. Adel's one to go out fast, and she's going to have trouble at the end. We're going to see Chris coming around this last turn, going right by Adel. She's going to win her first World Championships.
Witty in 1:19.97. Wow! Witty with a new track record, and she defeats Hoyseth by 0.8 seconds. Good enough to take home the overall championship. So Christine Witty, who wanted so badly to carve her own identity, has taken a huge step towards doing just that.
And then with Adel finishing second, still both skaters, I'm sure, are extremely happy. 1 and 2 in the overall standings.
A jubilant and relieved Christine Witty as we take a look at the final results for race 2 of the ladies 1,000 meters. Witty still undefeated at that distance this year. And in the overall standings, a strong showing by the other 2 American skaters. Bonnie Blair standing by with the new queen of speed skating.
Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you,
20
Bonnie.
years old.
Yes.
First World Championships.
Yes.
Can you give us any idea what you're feeling right now?
I can't tell you what I'm feeling right now because I've never felt this before. I'm just floating.
That's fantastic. Now the last 1,000 meters,
Yeah.
track record, 1:19. Can you go through the race a little bit with us, and how did that feel?
Before the race, I was kind of, for a while I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, this is Worlds, I could win it. But then I kind of changed my mindset around, and I thought, well, just think about the 1,000 meters, don't think about Worlds. So going into the race, I was just thinking about the 1,000 meters, but then during the race, after 600 meters, I saw where Adel was, who's in second. And usually I go over the top of her on the outer, but this time I didn't. So I was a little scared that I wasn't going to beat her in the last 200, but then something came over me. I was going for it. I gave it all I could and came out on top.
Good, strong finish. We wish you a lot of luck the rest of the season. And once again, congratulations. Fantastic.
Thanks.
So as we begin a new era in speed skating, the torch of success has been passed on by that dynamic force called change.
Change will come. The change is here.
For Bonnie Blair, I'm Mark Jones. So long from Heerenveen.